The year was 2012. Rangers FC, the club from Glasgow, had been placed into administration and subsequently been deducted 10 points as per the Scottish Premier League rules. They finished a humiliating 20 points behind rival Celtic, and on the 1st of June 2012, the club entered into the process of liquidation. Fans all over the globe and in Glasgow wondered whether if there would even be a club to support, much less if there would ever be another time they would lay their hands on Scottish football's most prestigious prize. They managed to find new owners, but however, they were languishing in the third division of Scottish football. After fighting back and clawing their way through, they eventually made it back to where they belong, in the Scottish Premiership on the 5th of April 2016 with a win over Dumbarton. The 16-17 and 17-18 season saw them finish third both seasons in the league, while Celtic were at the peak of their dominance. Then, on the 1st of May 2018, after being smashed 5-0 to Celtic, the game that saw Celtic be crowned Scottish Premier League champions for the 7th consecutive season, Rangers manager Graham Mooney was sacked. And after numerous failed attempts to secure an experienced manager to steady the ship, they decided to take a gamble on a man who had very little experience in being a manager, but a lot of experience in shouldering the hopes and dreams of a city that lives and breathes football, and that man was Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard was appointed Rangers manager on the 4th of May 2018. Fast forward to the 7th of March 2021. After Celtic failed to beat Dundee United, Steven Gerrard led Rangers to their first league title in 10 years and knocked Celtic off their perch and prevented them from winning their 10th consecutive title. An appointment that raised many eyebrows at the start proved to be a masterstroke. The good times are back at the Ibrox, and it's all thanks to the man from Liverpool. What is up, my beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. You're watching Tifosi Culture TV, and I'm Archard, and today we are going to be doing a team analysis video of the mighty Rangers 2020-21 season. The Teddy Bears reclaim number 55, and we are going to be talking all about it. We're going to be talking about tactics, we're going to be talking about style of play, we're going to be talking about the evolution of this Rangers side as well as Steven Gerrard's role in it. I brought in a little bit of an extra help, so please welcome Wilf Marshall from the Rangers Ramble Podcast. He has been super kind enough to talk about Rangers and break down their season, as well as give us his thoughts from a fan's perspective.
Rangers go on! Rangers go on!
Joining me for this very special video, all the way from Aberdeen, from the Rangers Ramble Podcast. He is such a gentleman, and I cannot speak highly of him for his patience and for taking the time out to talk to us. It is Wilf Marshall. Hi, Wilf. How are you?
I'm very, very well, Hotshots. Great to speak to you.
Yeah, it's really great to speak to you. So, how have you been? How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's going fine.
You are a diehard. I can tell from your wall of memorabilia, you are a diehard fan of Rangers. So, how long have you been supporting Rangers, and who is your favorite player, Wilf?
Yeah, I've been supporting Rangers my entire life. I'm 52 years old, so from as long as I can remember, far back as I can remember, I've followed Rangers. My favourite ever player is a winger that we signed in 1977 from Clydebank called Davy Cooper. He sadly died aged 39 in 1995, shortly after retiring. But Davy Cooper was a fantastic football player.
First off, congratulations on number 55. How does it feel to be champions of Scotland?
It's magnificent. It's absolutely. First of all, thanks very much for that. It's wonderful. It's given what happened to my club in 2012 when we were basically thrown down to the bottom division, for us to be back where we belong, it's a sensational feeling.
When everything happened in 2012, did you ever think that you could reach the same heights that you had before?
I always believed that we could get back there. Once we started playing again. I mean, the summer of 2012, we weren't even sure we'd have a football team to support the way things were going. But when we got back to playing that first game at Brecon City in August 2012, I honestly thought we would get back at some point, and it's just, as I say, it's brilliant to be back where we belong.
And now I want to take you back to the 1st of May in 2018 when Graham Hootie was sacked, and then 3 days later Rangers came out and officially announced that they were going to appoint Steven Gerrard. So what was your reaction to that signing? A decorated player, one of the legends in English football. At that point of time, his credentials as a manager was almost non-existent. He was, I think, a under-18s manager for Liverpool. He's never managed a big club, and that too the club that has such a following like Rangers. I mean, Rangers is almost like, in terms of the following, the global scale, like the supporters, the amount of passion, it's almost equivalent to Liverpool. So it's almost taking on such a big club. So what were your thoughts? What was your reactions to the signing?
I initially, when I heard he was coming as manager, and it was confirmed, I thought it was an enormous gamble by the board, because, as you say, he'd never managed a club at any level. I mean, he'd only been Liverpool under-18s manager. Obviously, he was a worldwide name, so that would help raise the profile of the club. It would help attract possibly bigger name players. But the problem with that is you need the finance to go along beside that. But the board, when he came in, the board obviously made him some promises that they've kept him, because they must have said, look, we'll back you as much as we possibly can, and they've done that. But no, when he first came in, I thought it was an enormous gamble.
What were the changes that he started to implement? What were the changes you started noticing when he took charge, and what do you think made him such a good coach, such a good fit for your club?
I think he brought a structure to the club. I mean, he brought a backroom staff with him that he'd been quietly assembling in the background for when he eventually got a manager's job. He brought in, coaches and trainers and a backroom staff that he trusted, guys like Michael Beale and Tom Culshaw and Gary McAllister. It's guys that he respected, guys you could work with, and they brought a structure into the club. And I mean, he'd obviously looked at it and seen that we were leaking a lot of goals, and he shored up the defence quite. He made us difficult to beat, which if you don't lose goals, you don't lose games. Then you can start working at it from there.
So let's break down the stats that show what an incredible season Rangers have been having. They have scored the most number of goals in the league this season, which is 76. Their XG is 1.93, and they have scored goals at the rate of 2.36 goals per match. They have also conceded the fewest number of goals in the league this season, which is 10. They have conceded goals at a rate of 0.3 goals per match, and that is incredible when you consider the fact that their expected goals against is 0.81. So that shows they have been overperforming in the defensive department. The Rangers are on an incredible unbeaten run this season. They have won 28 games and they have drawn 5 and they have lost 0. But most importantly, for a lot of Rangers fans, they are 20 points ahead of Celtic. Now this season you are 20 points clear. Last season Rangers struggled to break down mid blocks. You guys drew many games. So what changed? Because like I mentioned earlier, Scottish football, they put 10 people behind the ball, they 10-11 players behind the ball, go on, break us down, let's see what you got. And Rangers for the better part of the last season and the season before really struggled to break down low blocks. So what's changed in that aspect?
I think that the biggest thing that's changed is that the management team and the coaches have got used to Scottish football. I mean, Scottish football is a very, very strange type of football, as you say. Teams come to Rangers, and even when they entertain Rangers, when we travel to them, they don't try and beat us. They sit in with everybody behind the ball. If they can sneak a goal, they're happy. Very, very few actually attack us, so it's really difficult to break down. And it took the current regime, a couple of seasons to kind of get a hold of that and how best to play that, and to get the players to play that way, because it is really difficult. But for me, the best thing that happened for the way Rangers play was actually the season finishing early. I mean, at the time when they called the season about a year ago, we had almost accepted the league was beyond us, because we were 13 points behind. We had a game in hand. We had to play them twice, but I don't think we were ever going to catch them.
Yeah.
But we'd have liked to, to play the season out. But it turns out we didn't play the season out, so we actually had a pre-season. I mean, Steven Gerrard's first 2 seasons, basically the pre-season was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the European qualifiers start the middle of July. So he's straight in and it's European qualifier, friendly European qualifier, no time on the training pitch. But the summer before this season, he had a good couple of months on the training pitch. So they could implement what they wanted to do. That, to me, made a huge difference.
The most used formation is the 4-3-3. Rangers have used this formation 25 times in the Scottish Premiership and 10 times in the Europa League. They have scored 55 goals in the Premiership and 23 in Europa, conceding 10 in the league and 15 in the Europa League. Steven Gerrard has also used a 4-2-3-1 on occasions, using it 8 times, scoring 23 and also not conceding. Rangers are predominantly a possession-based team, with their average possession in the league being 62.3%. They have an 85% pass accuracy and 33% of their attacking touches come in the opposition third, which is ranked joint top with Celtic in the league. They mostly tend to build up via the right-hand side, which is joint second in the Scottish Premier League behind Livingston and tied with Dundee United. They have scored the most number of goals in open play in the league, which is 54, and they are also a threat from set pieces, scoring the most number of set piece goals with 13. They also tend to put in a ton of crosses. Barisic and Tavernier are the key crossers in this side, with Barisic putting in 292 crosses, which is ranked first in the league, and Tavernier putting in 287 crosses, which is ranked second in the league. They are a defensively strong unit as well. They have conceded the fewest number of goals as mentioned earlier. They are also a high pressing side, with their passes per defensive action to be somewhere around 7.79. Alan McGregor is ranked first with the number of clean sheets in the Scottish Premier League with 16, while McLaughlin, the second choice goalkeeper, is ranked 6th with 8. What style of play do you think best describe Rangers currently?
It's difficult because, again, because of the nature of Scottish football, you've got to play different styles for different games. The style we play at home is completely different to the style we play in Europe, because in Europe teams do have a go at us. So we can play counter-attacking football. We can play counter-attacking football in Europe. We can sit in and we can let teams like Benfica and Porto and the like have the ball and come at us. You can't do that domestically because very few teams want to have the ball. They want us to have it. We'll have to try and play football rather than just kind of kick and rush. It's passing it quickly through the midfield, using the width. I'm very big on, especially at home, using the entire width. Ibrox is a massive playing surface. Using the entire width of the park, getting in behind the fullbacks, using the pace that we've got up front with guys like Ryan Kent and Joe Aribo, and just basically trying to out football teams. Because if we get dragged down into the battle that they want, we don't often win it. But if it's a game of football, we'll always win it.
Now let's look at what Rangers try to do when in possession of the ball and during build-up. Rangers typically look to play it short from the back. The two centre-backs will split wide, and this allows the two full-backs Barisic and Tavernier to push up high and wide. Connor Goldson is key for Rangers in progressing the ball during the first phase of build-up. He ranks second in the league with a number of total passes with 2,483 and second in the league with accurate passes with 2,085. He will also look to play long balls into the channels for the wingers to make runs into. He ranks first in the Rangers side with attempted long balls in 158 and completed long balls in 94. Also, when the opposition press the midfield, cutting off the passing options, he can also carry the ball forwards too for the opposition to step out and press him, thereby relieving the pressure from his teammates. He has the 4th most final third passes in the side and 4th most progressive passes with 28. You've got players like Stephen Davis, you've got players like Joe Aribo, Ryan Kent. Who do you think for you has been the best player so far for Rangers?
This season for me, my player of the season this year would be Big Connor Goldson, because as I say, he's hardly missed a game. He's scored something like 8 goals from centre half. Not all of them off set pieces. You could argue any of the players that you've mentioned. You could argue Ryan Kent. Stephen Davis he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's 36 years old. He hardly misses a game. As you rightly say, when when the defenders go forward, he'll slot back and cover as sort of as a sweeper, to keep the shape of the team. And I mean, he's got to be in with a shout for Player of the Year.
If the centre backs are being pressurized by the opposition, then a midfielder would look to drop deep to create a 3v2 advantage and help progress the ball into the next phase of play. Alternatively, one of the outside midfielders will drop into the space vacated by the fullback who is pushing up to have more time on the ball and to help progress the ball out wide to the fullbacks. Additionally, even both the midfielders would drop into the fullback spots to cover for the fullbacks. The two wingers will tend to drop into the half spaces, tucking in and staying close to the striker. The wingers coming in centrally forces the opposition to defend in a narrow manner, thereby opening up the spaces on the flanks, and this allows the fullbacks in Tavernier and Barisic to bomb forward down the flanks and put in crosses. And if the opposition fullbacks step out to press the fullbacks, the wingers will look to make runs in behind the space between the fullback and the centre back. Additionally, the wingers will tend to drift wide, drawing the fullback out with them, allowing a midfielder to make runs into that space between the fullback and centre back. Barisic and Tavernier are the key attacking outlets of the side. They rank first and second in the league with accurate crosses, 86 and 67 respectively, with 2.87 and 2.31 per game respectively. They rank second and sixth in key passes in the league with 66 and 60. They rank third and fourth in key passes per game with 2.2 and 2.07, while Tavernier and Barisic rank first and fourth in the league with big chances created with 11 and 8 respectively. The wingers playing centrally also has the added advantage of creating more numbers in midfield, and this helps them to easily counter-press the opposition whenever they lose the ball. The fullbacks will push higher up and will look to combine with the ball side centre mid who will drift wide, and also the winger to form triangles of passing combinations and quick interchanging passes. Positional rotation is one of the key principles Rangers use in their build-up. When the opposition use zonal marking, these players are more than capable of playing in a number of positions. This positional rotation is advantageous in creating space for themselves to break the low block. If they are struggling to progress the ball with their triangle passing combinations, another extra player will also look to move into the wide spaces to form a diamond shape, and this creates another passing option to combine with the fullback, centre mid and winger, and thus they are able to create numerical superiority in whichever part of the pitch the ball is. The striker will also look to drop deep to create an extra passing option, and this also draws a defender or player out of position, thereby creating space for the player to make third man runs into the space behind the defender. Morelos is a great passer, being able to receive the ball and hold up play for the wingers to make third man runs into. He also has 15 key passes, which is ranked second in the side. Having more players in the central areas also helps them to play through the middle of the pitch, especially when the opposition play a low block. The midfield are able to combine with the front three. Rangers typically rely on quick interchanging passes to create space and to make use of third man runs. The midfield can push up high or immediately come short to show for the ball, drawing out the opposition players with opposing movements to create gaps or pockets of space, which can be exploited by making quick runs into. They can also quickly change direction and make the run themselves into the space vacated by the opposition. In Ryan Kent and Joe Aribo, Rangers have technically gifted players. Ryan Kent and Joe Aribo rank the joint second in the league with 1.88 successful dribbles per game. Kent and Aribo have been Rangers' key players this season, with Kent notching up 10 goals and 9 assists. He ranks third in the Rangers side with shot creating actions with 21. He also ranks second in the Rangers side with goal creating actions with 7. He also has the second most successful pressures in the Rangers side with 38, meaning that he is able to press from the front as well. Joe Aribo has 7 goals and 4 assists. He ranks 5th in the side with shot creating actions with 16 and 4th with tackles 1 with 34. Rangers are also a deadly team on the transition. They will look to immediately release the wingers with quick one-touch passing, and they will usually attack the space vacated by the fullbacks. The midfield will also look to provide support by making runs into the box to provide numbers for the counter. Even though 11 players are behind the ball in Scottish football, but you guys still have not yet conceded half the goals as many goals you've conceded the previous season. Now you've currently conceded only 10 goals. So Steven Gerrard has made you guys difficult to break down. So how did he do that?
For me, he's basically now he's got a settled defence. When we started off the season with Alan McGregor and goal, Alan McGregor's been fantastic. I mean, he's 39, but he's like a good bottle of wine. He's getting better with age.
Yeah.
When he dropped out the team, John McLaughlin came in, and he's more than an able deputy. He played well in the games. I mean, he's got 10 clean sheets from the 12, 13 games that he's played. The actual defence itself, more or less, has been the same the entire season. The two fullbacks have been the same, although at the moment the captain's out injured. And the centre half, Connor Goldson, I think he's missed 5 games in the 3 years he's been at Rangers. So he's always there. Marshall in the defence, and he's got either Big Philip Helander or Liam Ballaghan in beside him. So because it's a settled defence, they trust each other. And if you can have a nice settled defence, you're not going to lose a lot of goals. And
special mention also has to go to Stephen Davis, just sitting in front of the defence, marshalling the midfield, covering for the bombarding fullbacks. He has also been a really, really good player. Rangers have been well drilled to press and defend as a unit. If they lose the ball, they are able to press in numbers, collapsing in on the player in possession to win the ball back. But they are also able to press intelligently. The aim is to shepherd the ball away from dangerous areas, which is the center of the pitch, and try to force the opposition to either go long, where the defense can win the ball back with their aerial dominance, or play an offside trap. When the opposition build up from the back, Rangers tend to remain compact and narrow with their 4-3-3 formation, and this is to cut off the passing options into the midfield. The front three remain narrow and compact and crowd the central areas of the pitch. This is done in order to force the opposition to pass the ball sideways or out to the flanks. Once the ball is out wide to the fullbacks is when they start to initiate the press. The ball side midfielder will immediately look to press the fullback, while the winger and other midfielders will look to cut off the passing options towards the middle of the pitch, while the fullback will close down the winger. This leaves the fullback having no option but to make a sideways pass to the centre back or a back pass to the keeper. Back passes to the keeper is also one of the main pressing triggers for Rangers. Their ability to cover for each other during the press is also a crucial factor to how Rangers defend so well. The midfielders will look to cover for the fullbacks during the press when the fullback steps out to press the winger. And if the opposition players look to attack the space vacated by the fullback, the winger or midfielder will look to track back and look to cut off the space. In their own half, Rangers will remain compact and narrow and keep the space between the lines minimum to prevent the opposition from playing through them, as well as protecting their zone 14. As a result, the opposition will be forced to play the ball out wide where it is in a less threatening area of the pitch for Rangers. You guys won the league, but in the Europa League, you've struggled a bit. Last season, you got knocked out by Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16. This year, it's the same thing with Slavia Prague. Gerrard's first season in charge, you guys didn't make it past the group stage. So, like you mentioned before, the teams in Europe have a go at you. Do you think that's one of the main reasons why the tactics Gerrard uses in the league does not translate well in Europa?
Well, I think you do us a bit of a disservice because we've done. I mean, from where we've come from when Steven Gerrard came in, as you say, the first season we didn't get out of the group stages. But I mean, it was a surprise that we got into the group stages. We started off in the first qualifying round, and we won 4 qualifying rounds, got into the group stages, and then we did exactly the same last season, but we got out of the group stages. Then we beat, we beat Braga in the round of 32. I got knocked out, as you say, by Bayer Leverkusen. They taught us a lesson. And the same this year with Sparta Prague, but the difference to me with Sparta Prague, I don't think they're particularly a better side than us, but they're more street smart at that level. You know, they're cuter at that level. They've played at it more often. They know how to win free kicks, how to, you know, they're just cuter at that level, and that'll come for us with experience. But that was Sparta Prague was our only defeat in Europe this season. So something like 13 games with 1 defeat. That's fairly decent.
Now we have to talk about your rivals, Celtic. How does it feel to stop them from winning number 10, their 10th consecutive league title? And how sweet is it?
I actually don't care about that. The only thing I'm interested in is the fact that we've won our 55th title. I mean, the fact that we did it this season means it stopped them winning it this year. I mean, there is an argument, and I subscribe to it, that they didn't win 9 because they were handed the 9th one, so they didn't actually win it. So, I mean, the only thing that mattered to me was Rangers winning the title, and because we won it, it meant nobody else could, and I'm happy with that.
Now we really have to talk about the future. How can you guys improve on winning number 55, winning the league again? And do you think Gerrard will stay after next season? And will the players like Ryan Kent, Joe Aribo, Ryan Kent has been linked to Leeds. Alfred Amarelos previously has been linked to moves away from the club. So with the pandemic, with the lack of funds and finances, do you think that it is the wise option to cash in on these players when you can get the maximum profit and reinvest into the squad in areas where you are lacking? Or do you think you need to hold on to them to improve this team?
We're certainly. I think we're definitely going to lose 1 or 2 of our top name players. I mean, the managing director's come out and said as much, that we have to, you know, we'll have to sell to buy, really. Quite who's going to go, I'm not quite sure. I would expect that the players that are playing in the European Championships this coming summer, Glenn Kamara, Philip Helander, particularly Borna Barisic, I think if they have good European Championships, I think there'll be a lot of big money bids coming in for them, and we are going to lose 1 or 2 of them. We can't really afford to lose more than that, I don't think. And we'll have to, and obviously to reinvest it in the team. But I would like to think that none of the players will be in a hurry to leave. I mean, that's them now won a title. they've seen what it means. I mean, we've not been able to, as supporters, we've not been able to be at the games, but they've seen what it means. I mean, the scenes in Glasgow, the weekend they won the league, were just incredible. I mean, I was surprised by them sitting in my house watching it. You know, they were incredible. So they know what it means, and I'd like to think that they obviously know that there's a very good chance they'll be playing Champions League football. And although the players that are likely to leave could go to kind of top level English teams, you know, they could, if they have good Champions League campaign next season, they could go to even more top level English teams. So instead of maybe going to a mid-table team, maybe like an Aston Villa or a West Brom or a Leeds United, you know, they could possibly go to an Arsenal or an Everton or a Tottenham. You know,
definitely.
So I'd like to think that most of them would stay to have a crack at the Champions League.
What about Steven Gerrard? I mean, do you think he'll stay the season beyond this, the next season? Where do you think he will end up season after this?
I think he'll stay with us. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that breaks a contract. His contract with us till 2024. It might just be a coincidence, but Jurgen Klopp's contract with Liverpool till 2024 as well. That might just be a coincidence. But I think Steven Gerrard's also got a taste for winning titles now. And it's one thing to win it, it's a totally different story to retain it. I think he'll want to retain it, have a crack at the Champions League as a manager. Definitely. And then we'll see where we are at the end of next season.
I mean, post 2024, maybe Jurgen Klopp can come to the Rangers. I think you would be happy with that, am I right?
I don't think we can afford them.
Steven Gerrard has turned this Rangers side into a well-oiled machine. After only taking charge of this club for 3 years, their ability to create space and manipulate the opposition's defensive organization with clever movements, positional awareness, and to exploit those gaps and spaces with quick, incisive, penetrative passes, not to mention their defensive solidarity, their clever, intelligent pressing to use the touchline as an extra man in the press, as well as their ability and the willingness to cover for each other whenever any player is caught out of position, has led to Rangers becoming one of the most dominant teams in Scottish football and raising their 55th league title. Also, the appointment of Ross Wilson, sporting director of Rangers FC, who has had several successful stints at Falkirk, Southampton, and even Watford. He has worked with top managers such as Mauricio Pochettino and discovered some really good gems. He was the key for Steven Gerrard to find the right players with different skill sets for different matches to play in this complex system. It was a marriage made in heaven, and all of these things combined has led to Rangers returning to the summit of Scottish football, back where they belong, to reclaim their crown as Kings of Scotland. It was an 11-year wait, but if you ask every Rangers fan, they would have said the wait was definitely worth it. It only took Gerrard 3 seasons to get his first trophy, and if he were to remain at Rangers for a little bit longer, who knows what he could achieve. The sky's the limit for the Glasgow club. Wilf, I think we've covered everything. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time having a chat with you. Where can the viewers find you, and what are the podcasts that you're currently doing?
Yeah, well, Hot Shot, it's been brilliant to speak to you. Thanks for having me on. I'm as you said at the start, I'm part of the Rangers Ramble Podcast, which is just at the Rangers Ramble. I do my bit there, and I'm on all your social media platforms. I'm just Wilf1872.
So that is it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to smash a like and comment down below what did you think of Rangers this season, and do subscribe if you want more stuff like this, more videos like this, and as well as a special shout out to Wilf Marshall from the Rangers Ramble Podcast. I highly recommend you guys check them out. I leave their links in the description. For now, until the next video, this is me, Hotshot, signing out. Peace.